So, as I said, this is game number 1 of a best of 3. The semi-finals of tonight go for SC2, €75 on the line, as well as a spot in the €600 monthly finals. So, definitely something that both these two are going to want to get in the finals to compete for. Spawning up in the top right-hand position, we have got the yellow Protoss player representing Alien Invasion. It's CPU. And his opponent down to the bottom left, the pink Zerg playing for Vega Squadron. It is DaNa. Now I'm going to be honest, I don't know why the music and sound disabled itself there. It's like the ghost of Day 9 is infecting my StarCraft 2 client. It's just like, no, you may not have sound. Anyway, still just chilling at the moment. ZvP. I like Zerg matchups. Zerg versus Protoss and Zerg versus Terran. Two of my favourites. I'm not sure which I like more, if I'm honest. TVP also has a fond place in my heart. But yeah, at the moment, pretty standard stuff coming down. Gate opening from CPU. Nothing too crazy there. Meanwhile, from DaNa, he's just going for a hatch first. So yeah, this is slightly abnormal. May go hatch pull, depending on how brave DaNa's feeling. DaNa, of course, has had a pretty solid run through this so far. He took out Botvinnik in the quarterfinals. Snoot before that. He had a bye in the first round, whereas looking at what CPU has done, he took out Desro, then he took out Aratax, and now he's here. So I'd say arguably DaNa had a slightly harder run. Taking down Snoot is no easy feat. Yeah, just checking this at the moment. Nothing crazy. There's the hatch pull. So just as I expected, DaNa just going for a very, very solid opening. Up against the gate expand, hatch pull actually worked beautifully well. Amazingly so. CPU went gate into the Nexus into the Cybernetics core. So very, very economically focused gate expand. All good there. Meanwhile, he's coming on just to get a little bit of scouting information at the moment. CPU bounding on forward. What's he going to find? Sees the hatch. Already finished. That says, okay, hatch first. When he moves in, shouldn't be able to tell too much by the spawning pool. He may click on it and actually try and work it out exactly, but no, doesn't. Should now just come over and check whether the third has been taken. Meanwhile, DaNa moving on up. This Overlord, just getting a good little scout. Sees the two gases, see 3 probes on each, and that really says it all. Unfortunately for CPU, doesn't actually come to check the third hatch. Interesting. I'm not quite sure why he isn't checking that third. It's pretty important to know it's coming. Comes actually around to the goal just to make sure that his opponent hadn't sneakily taken that, but no, it's all fine. Could put down a pylon just to allow some warp-ins. We'll wait and see, but yeah, for the time being, this is looking like good stuff. Nice safe stuff. I like safe openings. It means we get into the mid-game. It means we get to see some good macro-micro action. Their plan play out before our eyes. DaNa just pulling a couple of lings out. Going to take these watchtowers. Not actually holding them. Instead just coming bounding up. 4 lings. Not enough really to pressure into the base yet, but enough to see that probe. That's a good little peek. DaNa maybe wasn't looking at the minimap quite closely enough to realise that, but probe waiting there. If they managed to pick that off, it would have been nice, but instead just come and take a check at the front. See, yep, 2 gates there. With the 2 gases, it's unlikely to be 4 gates. At least not 4 gates with a lot of zealots. And that's really what DaNa wants to be keeping a check for. So all 3 hatches now getting injected. A lot of lava going to be making their way down. Again, this probe can be seen. Not sure if DaNa's going to respond to it. Should do, really. Sending in the Overlord. Just wanting to check out. There's 2 additional gates. So this is actually going to be going up to a lot of gateways now. 6 on the way to join the 2 already there. That makes 8 for those of you who struggle with arithmetic. And this is pretty much a 2-base all-in now. You can't really transition out of this. However, the Overlords are getting beautiful views. They see everything coming. Immediately, a lot of lings get started up. The Rotorons, Spine Callers. And importantly, the lings have also found the pylon. Although not before it was able to finish and the Mothership Core can zone everything out. Now DaNa's in a bit of trouble. Because that pylon has finished, reinforcements can come through fairly easily. Second spine gets started. More lings getting flooded on out. Speed is not yet finished for them though. The 2 queens going to be looking to try and force back these small numbers of units for as long as possible. The additional gateway is going to start really ramping up production quickly. CPU can't actually utilize all of those gates quite yet because he doesn't have enough money in the bank, but it means that he's never going to have to really wait for additional warp-in cycles. He's always going to have them there. Morlings coming out onto the field, the first few roaches on their way through, as well as these two spines, trying to get in a solid position where they can zone this out. They have unrooted, though. CPU sees this, can't actually engage, though. The speedlings were threatening the wraparound. The queens, 4 of them at the front. Enough energy, not quite for a transfuse, but a couple of them, 2 transfuses soon to be coming on in. So there we go, 2 transfuses available. They can be utilized on the spines nicely. Unfortunately, no vision here at the moment for DaNa, so it doesn't actually realize these rocks are getting taken down, but it's a smart play by CPU looking to come in from the other side. It negates these 2 spines, and it means that actually the army for DaNa could end up out of position. There's no... Actually, no, there are a couple of sentries. Could force field this area off. Tries to come in and engage now. There's the first few force fields. The roaches can still sneak on by. The queen's focusing down the mothership core, but already we see a time warp has been triggered. The stalker's trying to engage as best as possible. A few more units getting warped in from behind here. DaNa trading nicely. The roaches have managed to pick off most of those zealots now, and CPU losing a lot of the remaining stalkers. Down goes the sentries. Only 1 remains, but it's out of energy. The zealots at the front trying to tank up some more of the damage, with the roaches dealing very efficiently with those. A lot more lings coming into the mix. They're going to be able to chase down the remainder of this army, trying to wrap around those stalkers, prevent them from being able to escape. And all in all, DaNa is holding this beautifully. He's got a good solid drone count, a lot of units out on the field, and CPU is starting to falter in terms of his army resupply speed. More roaches coming on by, these lings able to trade nicely, wrapping around the stalkers, trying to pick them off before they're able to kill off too many of those roaches. A couple more zealots coming into the mix, but it's the stalkers that want to get taken down first. The zealots aren't really a threat to the roaches. CPU still continuing on with this pressure. He doesn't really have a transition out of this. It's very all-in, going up to 8 gates off of 2 bases. DaNa not repositioning these spines yet. 1 going to be moving on up just to bolster this defensive position. The roaches can't come out quickly enough, just trying to hold this back for the moment. More warp-ins coming on down, but DaNa should be pretty safe to hold this now. Not really in too much of a difficulty, just pumping out some more lings, some more roaches. CPU attempting from the right-hand side of the 3rd base now, wanting to try and go through. Zealots closing up the distance to that spine nicely. A transfuse wasn't able to hit the mark, but the roaches pushing on in. CPU losing a lot of those zealots. A couple of these stalkers going down as well, engaging upon creep, giving DaNa additional move speed on his roaches. Chasing this down. There's the GG, and DaNa is going to be able to defend that all in game number 1 to take the victory.